Hello everyone, this is the Real Type. In this video I'm going to show you the game of the century that was played between Boby Fischer and Donald Byrne. In this game, Donald Byrne had white pieces and he started with knight to f3. Actually, I'm going to show you not only the games but also some of the variations. I mean, we're going to analyze some variation that never happened. So knight f6 by Fischer, c4, g6, knight to c3, bishop to g7, and d4. Here, black can play d5, and we have the Grunfeld defense, but actually Fischer castled, allowing white to play e4, but white didn't. White just played bishop to f4, and here black played d5, preventing white from playing e4, and white played queen to b3, increasing the pressure over the d5 pawn, so black took, queen takes c4, attacking the pawn on c7, c6, e4, grabbing space in the center, knight from b to d7, and rook to d1. Rook d1, I can't tell that, I can't say that it's a mistake or something, it's more of an inaccuracy. I mean, the best move is probably bishop e2, preparing to castle quickly. But rook d1 delays the development of the king side. So black played knight to b6, attacking the queen, queen to c5, and bishop to g4, pinning the knight and also threatening to grab the knight and cripples white's pawn structure. And white played bishop g5. Again, bishop e2 was the simplest move, just unpinning the knight and making sure that if black takes, white can also take with the bishop and everything is just fine. White is also ready to castle. But instead, white played bishop to g5, which I'm not quite sure why he did it. But here black has an amazing idea. I want you to pause the video and find out how black can continue in this position. So please pause the video and find out. Okay, I hope you found it. So just before I show you, please drop a like to this video, leave a thumbs up. It's helping me grow this channel. In the game, Fischer played knight to a4, forking the queen and the knight on a4 cannot be taken. Because if white plays knight takes on a4, then the pawn on e4 is no longer defended by the knight which was on c3. So black can play knight takes c4, forking the queen and the bishop. And after queen to b4, knight takes g5. Knight takes g5, bishop takes d1, king takes d1, and now b5 attacking the knight. And once the knight moves, then bishop takes d4, threatening so many discoveries, nasty discoveries. So it's not a good position for white. Instead, after knight to a4, white played queen to a3, moving the queen from the attack of the knight. Knight takes on c3, b takes on c3, and still knight takes on e4. It seems kind of a bad move to play knight takes on e4 because white can't play bishop takes on e7, forking the queen and the rook, which was played in the game, by the way. But here black simply played queen to b6, and it turns out that the rook cannot be taken, because if bishop takes f8, which didn't happen in the game. In the game, white played bishop to c4. But if bishop takes f8, bishop takes f8, attacking the queen, queen to c1, then knight takes. First taking the knight on f3, damaging white's pawn structure here, and only then playing knight takes on c3, forking the rook and the pawn on a2. And again, the knight cannot be taken because bishop b4 wins the queen. So if rook to d2 defending, then rook to e8 check, bishop to e2, and an amazing move, queen to a5, threatening to grab the bishop on e2 with the knight, and the rook cannot take back because it's pinned. So king f1 can break the pin on the rook, but then bishop to h6, pinning the rook once again, and white's position is completely lost. So let's go back. By the way, if white play here queen b3, then we can once again just take on c3. Again, the knight cannot be taken because of bishop to b4. And if queen takes queen, then a takes on b6. The rook is still under attack, and if rook d3 trying to counterattack the knight, and black can simply play rook takes on a2, and the knight cannot be taken because of bishop to b4. And once again, you can see that white's king side is not developed, and white will have a very hard time continuing this game. So in the game, white decided not to take the rook on f8. Instead, he played bishop to c4, and black played knight takes on c3, attacking the rook on d1. And once again, the knight cannot be taken, nor the rook can be taken. For example, if queen takes on c3, taking the knight, then rook from a to e8, pinning the bishop, and if white plays queen a3 trying to defend the bishop, then bishop takes f3, the queen cannot take, white queen cannot take because she is forced to defend the bishop on e7. And after g takes f3, queen d8. Yeah, I kind of highlighted a few weaknesses that white has. I mean, after white will lose the bishop on e7, because he will lose it eventually, white will remain with so many horrible pawns all over the board. So, yeah, just to show you why the queen can't take, if bishop takes on f8, still the same idea. Bishop takes on f8, attacking the queen. If queen takes on c3, then bishop to b4, winning the queen. And if queen to c1, well, you can just take the rook if you want to, but the simplest is rook e8, knight takes on d1, and I didn't continue this variation. I mean, black is simply better. He is up a pawn, he has the bishop pair, white has few weaknesses, the king is exposed, and it's very hard to bring this rook into the game. So, fine. In the game, white played bishop to c5, attacking the queen. Black played rook from f to e8 check. It's important to play rook from f to e8. That way, the rook is no longer attacked by the bishop. He's no longer under attack by the bishop. So rook to e8, rook from f to e8, king to f1. And this is the most critical position in the game. I mean, there are a few critical positions, but this is the most critical position. It is black to move. Please pause the video and try to find out how can black continue in this position. So pause the video and find out. Okay, I hope you were able to find it. In the game, black played bishop to e6, sacrificing the queen. In the game, white took it, and in just 1 second I will show you what happened. But I want to show you why white is forced to take the queen on b6. For example, if white decided to play queen takes on c3, defending the bishop on c4 here, then black can simply play queen takes on c5, and the pawn on d4 is pinned. So is the bishop on c4. He can't move because the queen is hanging. So after d takes c3, bishop takes, after d takes c5, bishop takes on c3, and once again black is simply up a pawn, having a bishop pair, and white king is exposed, and it's very hard to bring the rook on h1 into the game. So again, the knight can never be taken. I mean, this knight was under attack like, I think like 6-7 times during this video, and white could never take it. And if bishop takes on e6, if you still didn't find it, I suggest you to pause the video and find out how can black mate white. There is a forced checkmate, by the way. So I'm going to show it. Queen to b5 check, king to g1. Oh, by the way, white can never play king e1 because of queen e2 is always checkmate. So king g1, knight to e2 check, king to f1, knight to g3, double check. And again, if king e1, then simply queen e2 mate. And after king g1, here is queen f1 check, rook takes f1, and knight to e2 smothered mate. So after bishop e6, the knight cannot be taken, nor can the bishop be taken. So bishop takes on b6 was played, bishop takes on c4 check, king to g1, knight to e2 check, king to f1, knight takes on d4 check. Actually, it's quite important not to rush with knight c3 directly and then taking the rook. It's very important that white will not have the pawn on d4. And I'm going to show you why in just a second. So in the game, knight takes on d4 check, king to g1, knight to e2 check, king to f1, knight to c3 check. Actually, black can force the perpetual. He can force the a threefold repetition, but he played a takes on b6, and here it's why it's important that the pawn on d4, that black took the pawn on d4, because now the queen cannot take the knight since the pawn on d4 is gone, and the bishop on g7 defends the knight. So as you can see, the queen is under attack, and so is the rook, but white can't defend the rook with queen c1 because then knight e2 is once again a fork, and it's kind of a windmill. Once again, check and check from the bishop, and it's just once again the same idea. So in the game, white played queen b4 attacking the bishop, and here an amazing move, rook a4. It turns out that all the black pieces are defending each other. The bishop on g7 defends the knight on c3, the knight on c3 defends the rook on a4, the rook on a4 defends the bishop on c4. So none of the black pieces can be taken. So queen takes b6, knight takes d1, and as you can see in this position, black has rook and two bishops for the queen, which is more than enough. White played h3, trying to activate his rook. Rook takes on a2, king to f2, knight takes, king to h2, knight takes on f2, attacking the rook. Rook to e1, offering trades. To trade, rook takes on e1, and an in-between move, queen to d8, check, bishop to f8, and now knight takes on e1. Yeah, Fischer was very calm in this position. I mean, he didn't try to rush or anything. He just played bishop d5, improving his bishop, knight to f3. He could take, he could do a lot of things, but he just played knight e4, improving, slow improvement. White played queen b8, attacking the pawn, so just b5, black is consolidating. White played h4, trying to break black's pawn structure with h5. So black played h5 himself. White played knight e5, threatening to go knight to d7 to win the bishop on f8. So black played a very clever idea, king to g7. Now, if knight to d7, then bishop to d6 is a fork. So king to g1, bishop to c5 check, king to f1, knight to g3 check, king to e1, and here there is a forced checkmate. Actually, there are more than one way to force a checkmate, but I want you to find the absolute quickest one. So pause the video and try to find it out. Okay, in the game, Fischer played bishop to b4, which is not the fastest way, but it's still a forced checkmate. The fastest way is rook to e2 check, king to d1, bishop to b3 check, king to c1, and bishop to a3 check, king b1, rook e1 is checkmate. As you can see on move 40, it's a checkmate, which is a very beautiful checkmate, but black played something else. In the game, Boby Fischer played bishop to b4 check, king to d1, bishop to b3 check, king to c1, knight to e2 check, king to b1. Actually, all of those moves are only legal moves. For example, here after black played bishop b4, white is forced to play king d1. There is no other legal moves in this position. So king d1, bishop b3, the only legal move is king to c1, knight to e2 check, only legal move is king to b1, knight to c3 check, only legal move king to c1, and rook to c2 checkmate, as you can see on move 41. One move more than the previous line, but never mind. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please drop a like to this video, leave a thumbs up, and if you want to get notified whenever I upload a new video, so please subscribe to this channel and click the notification so I can notify you whenever I upload a new video. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.